Sofia Ramirez was kneeling at the bride's feet, holding up the lining of a $1 million wedding gown, when Vanessa Cole violently pulled the fabric from her hands. In front of the entire wardrobe team, Vanessa called her a hotel seamstress, pretending to understand luxury design. But Sofia had just discovered a small cut capable of turning the perfect gown into a disaster on the staircase. "The structural silk band has been cut," Sofia said, keeping her voice calm. "If Miss Carrington steps onto a high platform, the bodice could separate from the skirt." Vanessa stood above her with her arms crossed. "You are only the hotel seamstress. Do not pretend you understand a $1 million design." Sofia pointed toward the thousands of crystals covering the skirt. "The weight is pulling downward from the waist. This band is supposed to transfer the pressure into the internal supports. Once it is cut, all that weight rests on one thin line of silk." Vanessa pulled the lining down and covered the damaged section. "My team inspected everything. You were called here to repair a bridesmaid's button, not evaluate the gown." Lily Carrington stood in front of the mirror with one hand pressed against her waist. Her breathing was shallow and her shoulders were tense. "The gown feels a little tight," Lily said quietly. Vanessa immediately smiled. "That is the shape of the design. Your waist will look perfect in the photographs." When Vanessa turned to check the lighting, Sofia quietly loosened a small inner hook. The adjustment was barely noticeable and did not change the outside shape, but it gave Lily enough room to breathe deeply. "Thank you," Lily whispered. In the corner, Maya Chen was holding a torn sleeve. Sofia drew her closer, repaired the tear with several clean stitches, and refused payment. Maya looked down and noticed the cut end of the structural band. "Miss Cole, should we reconnect this?" Sofia used the opportunity to make another request. "I only need 15 minutes. I can open the waist, restore the support system, and test the gown's movement." That was Vanessa's first opportunity to correct the problem. Instead, she looked at the photography schedule on her tablet. "No, reopening the waist will delay the entire team. You are trying to attract attention in a room where you do not belong." Sofia did not answer. She studied the internal construction of the gown. The way the silk bands crossed beneath the beading reminded her of a design she had once drawn at Bellamy Couture many years earlier. She had not yet checked the identifying mark when Vanessa noticed the wooden sewing box on a chair. "A toolbox from a flea market does not belong in a room with a $1 million gown." Sofia closed the box. Inside were a silver thimble engraved with the name Sofia R., an old spool of silk thread, and a yellowed piece of tracing paper that her mother had carefully preserved. Vanessa called the hotel manager. "Take her back to the basement. From this moment forward, this woman is forbidden from entering the bridal area." Sofia picked up her sewing box and walked into the service hallway. Before the door closed, she heard the faint sound of thread being pulled tight. It was so quiet that no one else noticed it over the conversation. She turned around. "Please do not let Lily step onto the platform until Julian Bellamy examines the gown." Vanessa had a second opportunity to stop the photography session and call the designer. Instead, she signaled for the cameras to begin. "Lily, step onto the platform. We need a full-length video." Sofia was escorted to the sewing room in the basement. An elderly hotel employee was struggling with a jammed coat zipper. Even after being humiliated, Sofia sat down, repaired the zipper, reinforced 2 stitches on the inside, and only then placed her sewing box inside a locker. On the top floor, Lily lifted the skirt and stepped onto the platform. Thousands of crystals shifted at the same moment. A sharp tearing sound filled the room. The bodice began separating from the skirt along one side. Lily panicked and grabbed a chair while the assistants rushed forward to support the heavy fabric before it fell. Vanessa and the wardrobe specialists surrounded the gown. But the special silk would tear further if they stitched directly through it, and fashion adhesive could discolor the fabric beneath the lights. "No one takes photographs," Vanessa ordered. "If anyone asks, say a hotel employee damaged the gown while making an adjustment." Maya stared at her. "Sofia warned us about this exact location. We have to call her." "No, that woman is not coming back into this room." Maya looked at Lily, who was crying, then quietly slipped away. She ran through the service hallway, hurried down the basement stairs, and found Sofia putting on her coat at the end of her shift. "We have only about 10 minutes before the ballroom doors open." Sofia tightened her grip on her bag. She knew that if she returned, Vanessa could still blame the entire disaster on her. "She does not want me touching the gown." "Lily cannot walk," Maya said. "She is crying." Sofia looked at the sewing box her mother had left her. After a moment of silence, she removed her coat. "The bride should not have to pay for someone else's arrogance." When Sofia returned to the bridal room, every person turned toward her. She examined the tier and asked, "Who cut the structural band?" Vanessa did not answer. "Repair the gown immediately, and do not say anything else." Sofia lifted the lining. Beneath the original seam were 3 diagonal stitches and the small identifying mark SR. She froze. Sofia did not merely know how to repair the gown. She was the person who had designed its internal support system. The 3 diagonal stitches and the initials SR were hidden beneath the original seam. Sofia looked at them for only a moment before lowering the lining again. Although her past had suddenly opened before her, Lily was still crying and only 10 minutes remained. "Everyone stop touching the gown," Sofia said. "If you keep pulling the 2 sides apart, the tear will spread through the crystal beading." Vanessa stepped forward. "I am responsible for the entire visual presentation. You will follow my instructions." Sofia looked directly at Lily. "I will only repair it with the bride's permission." Lily gripped the side of the chair. "Can you make the gown look the way it did before?" "I cannot promise perfection. I can only promise that I will not let you walk in a gown that may continue tearing apart." Eleanor Carrington immediately demanded the backup dress. Sofia explained that it would require more than 30 minutes of alterations, while the current tear could be stabilized in about 10 minutes if no one interfered. Lily looked at her mother, then at Vanessa. "I want Sofia to repair it." It was the first time that day Lily had made a decision against the person controlling her public image. Sofia examined the end of the silk band. The fibers had been cut cleanly in the same direction. There was no sign that they had broken from pressure. The structural band was removed deliberately. She did not stitch directly through the delicate silk. Instead, Sofia removed a hidden strip of fabric from the back edge of the skirt, where the alteration would not appear in photographs. She threaded the strip through the internal supports, formed a herringbone bridge, and connected it to the inner waistband. The weight of thousands of crystals began spreading across several support points instead of pulling against the tier. Maya stood beside the clock and cut thread whenever Sofia asked. Eleanor turned toward the panicked wardrobe team. "Everyone remain quiet. Let her work." Vanessa handed Sofia a pair of scissors. "Use these." The moment Sofia touched them, she noticed a piece of structural thread caught on one blade. Its color was different from the gown's original thread, but matched the newly cut end of the support band. Vanessa noticed her expression. "You have no proof that I cut it?" Sofia placed the scissors aside. "Right now, I am saving the gown. I am not arguing with you." 6 minutes remained. Just as Sofia secured the first bridge, another tear appeared near Lily's hip. The sharp sound of breaking thread made Maya turn pale. Sofia immediately changed her approach. She redirected part of the weight into the inner corset straps and concealed the stitches beneath the beadwork, so the gown's outer shape remained almost unchanged. Lily watched Sofia's fingers move with precision. "Why do you understand this gown better than Miss Cole's entire team?" Sofia did not stop working. "I once developed a similar structure at Bellamy Couture. After I left, I did not know it had been used," Vanessa interrupted. "You were only an assistant. This technique belongs to me. I was the person who turned it into something valuable." Maya remembered the behind-the-scenes video she had recorded, but she did not reach for her phone. If Vanessa discovered it, she might find a way to delete the recording before Maya could protect it. 3 minutes remained. Sofia removed the silver thimble engraved with her name from the wooden box, placed it over her finger, and completed the final locking stitch with the old spool of silk thread. Sofia did not allow Lily to walk immediately. She used her hands to distribute pressure across each connection point, checking the waist, hips, and internal supports. Then she asked Lily to stand, turn slowly in a full circle, and step onto the low stair beside the platform. The gown held its shape. There was no more sound of tightening thread. Lily could breathe deeply and move without the bodice pulling away from the skirt. The ballroom doors remained closed. The wedding had been delayed by 12 minutes, but the guests and reporters still knew nothing about the emergency. At that moment, Julian Bellamy entered the dressing room to inspect the gown before the ceremony. He stopped when he saw the reinforced tier. "Who performed this repair?" Vanessa started to answer, but Lily pointed toward Sofia. "The hotel seamstress." Julian examined the invisible stitches. When Sofia placed her hand against the internal frame and explained how she had redistributed the weight, he studied her more carefully. The movement reminded him of a pattern maker who had worked in his studio many years earlier. Vanessa spoke quickly. "She only followed my instructions." Julian lifted the lining. Beneath the original seam were the initials SR and the date the prototype had been completed. Sofia opened her sewing box and removed the yellowed tracing paper. The weight distribution lines on the drawing matched the structure inside the gown. Julian looked at her. "Sofia Ramirez, why did you disappear without saying goodbye?" "I submitted my resignation so I could care for my mother. I gave every design to Vanessa and asked her to deliver them to you. I never received a response." Maya knew she could no longer remain silent. She opened the video she had recorded. In it, Sofia warned them about the exact location where the gown would tear. Then Vanessa's voice could be heard saying, "Cut it. The cameras do not care about the inside of the gown." Julian did not reach a conclusion based only on the recording. He ordered Bellamy's archives to open the original prototype records. Several minutes later, his phone rang. Julian activated the speaker. An archive employee spoke clearly. "The paper design carries employee code SR214, but the author's name in the system was changed to Vanessa Cole after Sofia left the company. Vanessa Cole's name had barely come through the phone when the ceremony bell rang. Lily decided to continue with the wedding after the 12-minute delay. She asked Sofia to walk with her to the ballroom doors. With every step, the crystals trembled slightly, but the waist remained secure. There was no more sound of tightening thread, and Lily could breathe normally. Sofia followed behind her, watching every support point. When Lily reached the final step, Sofia felt relieved, not because the gown was still beautiful, but because the woman wearing it was safe. The guests only knew that the ceremony had started late. Lily did not turn her wedding into a confrontation, but in front of her family and the wardrobe team, she said, "I want to thank the woman who made sure I could walk down those stairs safely." Her eyes turned toward Sofia, who stood quietly behind the doors. Vanessa was temporarily removed from the event so the records, equipment, and witness statements could be preserved. It was not yet a final judgment. After the ceremony, Lily, Eleanor, Julian, Sofia, Maya, Bellamy's lawyers, and hotel representatives met privately. Vanessa was given the right to explain. She admitted ordering an adjustment to Lily's waist, but insisted she had not expected the gown to tear. "Sofia left the industry 12 years ago. I refined the technique, promoted it, and made it part of the Bellamy brand. Without me, the drawing would still be sitting in a drawer." Sofia did not deny Vanessa's contribution to commercializing the design. "You deserve credit for the work you performed. I am only asking that the truth about the person who created the original structure not be erased." Julian stood before everyone. Sofia Ramirez was not an unknown hotel seamstress. She was once the highest-rated pattern maker on Bellamy's technical team, and she created the first weight distribution frame. The evidence was placed side by side. The initials SR and the prototype completion date, the tracing paper, employee card number SR214, and the original paper pattern from the archive. Emails confirmed that Sofia had sent the designs through Vanessa. Her resignation showed that she left to care for her mother, not to join a competing company. System records showed that the author's name was changed after her departure. Maya's video captured Sofia's warning and Vanessa's order to cut the support band. The scissors still carried a piece of thread. Lily confirmed that she had complained about difficulty breathing, but had been told to endure it so she would look better in photographs. Julian ordered both the digital and paper records preserved. Sofia's technique had generated substantial revenue, so changing the name had taken not only her recognition, but also years of compensation. Vanessa looked down at the table. "I was poor my entire life. When the opportunity appeared, I was afraid that if I remained only an assistant, I would never get another chance. Sofia had left. I thought she would never return." Julian did not allow the confession to erase responsibility, but he also accepted his own failure. "I built this brand on the skill of hundreds of people, but I did not protect their names. I trusted managers more than the people working behind the seams." Sofia did not demand that Vanessa be publicly humiliated. "I want the authorship, compensation, and professional record corrected. Forgiveness does not mean continuing to protect a lie." Vanessa's contract was suspended during the investigation. Bellamy stopped using her name to promote the disputed technique. The records were corrected to identify Sofia as the developer of the original structure, while bonuses and royalty payments were held for compensation review. The hotel removed Sofia's disciplinary warning. Maya received witness protection. Bellamy agreed to pay for the inspection and repair of every gown using a similar support system. Julian required every future design to name the pattern makers who contributed to it. No manager could change an author's name without independent approval. The investigation confirmed that Vanessa had deliberately changed the authorship record and hidden Sofia's resignation documents. She lost her creative position and faced civil proceedings involving authorship, contracts, and unpaid compensation. Her work in bringing the technique to market remained acknowledged, but her claim to have created the original system was removed. Julian offered Sofia a senior position at Bellamy. She did not accept immediately. "I do not want one dramatic moment to give me authority I have not been properly evaluated to hold." She completed an independent assessment and then accepted a probationary position as a structural design consultant. Eleanor paid Sofia the proper professional fee for saving the gown. Sofia refused every additional payment offered in exchange for silence. 6 months later, Sofia opened a program called Second Stitch for seamstresses and pattern makers who had left the industry to care for their families. The program offered updated training, flexible schedules, authorship protection, and an independent channel for reporting safety concerns. People who had once believed a career break had permanently closed their future could now return through ability, not pity. Maya entered the pattern-making course but was required to pass the same assessment as every other applicant. Lily used the remaining portion of her image budget to fund the first scholarship for a seamstress caring for a family member. At the program's opening event, Julian pulled a curtain away from the original weight distribution design. The name beneath it no longer read Vanessa Cole. It said Sofia Ramirez, Structural Pattern Developer. On her new work table, Sofia placed the sewing box her mother had left her beside a board, listing every pattern maker who contributed to each design. She placed the silver thimble on her finger, showed a young student how to make 3 diagonal stitches, and said, "A good seam may be hidden, but the person who created it should never have their name erased." Talent can be hidden, but the truth should never be buried beneath someone else's spotlight. What would you have done in Sofia's place? Would you have returned to save the gown for the people who had just humiliated you? Share your choice and continue following Stewart's stories. Stories of love, hope, and justice.